Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. I'm producing this video in the beautiful county of Siaya County, that is Siaya County, and of course we thank God for, yes, the gift of life. I don't know where you're watching us from. Thank you very much for those who support our podcast. Have you heard of what Isaac Rutto is saying? The former Bomet governor, who currently is a commissioner in the Judicial Service Commission, has revived some calls that had emerged late last year in December to make Nairobi County be disbanded as a county, or rather that county be handed over to the national government. Those calls have been revived. And I've just seen that article circulating now. And one of the things, and I think one of the premise that was constructed about this discussion last time, when there were talks about it, was one of the things. Number one was that because Nairobi was a hub, was a home to the different diplomatic missions. The other one was about when it's given to the national government, the capitation, rather the allocation to the county is going to increase. They would actually help in the infrastructure development. And there were a couple of other suggestions that were there. And I listened to it, and it's a very laughable suggestion, because when Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta realized that he was going to finish his tenure without something tangible, or rather without a significant impact in Nairobi County, he decided to hand over some functions back to the national government from Mike Sonko, because he realized that Mike Sonko was incompetent, according to their suggestion by then, because the county, Nairobi County, is one of the counties that is normally rocked with cartelism. I think if there is a cult known as cartel, cartelism is a cult, and that cult is domiciled within Nairobi County. So when Uhuru Kenyatta suggested it, it was highly and it was largely opposed by the Kenya Kwanza side. And immediately, and I think even those who campaigned against Uhuru Kenyatta, campaigned on that platform, or rather on a policy that when they take over power, they shall disband the Nairobi Metropolitan Services NMS, and those functions will be handed over back to the national, to the county government. During the just completed devolution conference, William Ruto gave a commitment that all the county government functions that are still in the national government will be handed over to the counties within, and given an ultimatum of 60 days. So the spirit of devolution, just from the devolution conference, has been there, and the goodwill was actually shown. So if, and remember, I have largely mentioned here that there are some few things that have been happening that many people really don't talk about. William Ruto, despite the fact that, sorry for that disruption, William Ruto did not hand over officially, or rather did not launch officially Uhuru Park, because they did not agree probably the concept, the fact that it was made by the NMS. And again, they even proposed the Uhuru Park to be converted into some hall, like, you know, to some tourism center or some hotel like KICC. And people have been arguing the essence of putting up a 9 or 10 story building in that place, despite the fact that KICC is just opposite the road. There have been that argument. Now, this means that the fact that it is coming from Isaac Rutto is an insider, is William Ruto's operative. Number two, Isaac Rutto is a commissioner in Judicial Service Commission. So he is also speaking from a point of influence. It's not just a pedestrian suggestion that has just come from any other commoner. And that is why I honestly do look at it differently, that there is something behind this push. I just want to look at it this way, and I'll actually give my position on that suggestion. But before that, of course, this move is very deliberate, and it's going to meet opposition and criticism and support in equal measure. The Azimio side, who are the majority in the House, are going to oppose it. If it gets to the county assembly to dissolve it, you know, it takes, the process of dissolving a county does not just take a presidential order to dissolve a county. It's a very tedious process that can even end up in sort of a referendum. But again, another context here is we are heading into boundaries and delimitation process where some counties are supposed to be merged while some are supposed to be split. So this one that will be scrapped under the boundaries and delimitation, it is something that we are yet to see. But there are some 4 issues, some 4 interests I'm putting on table and I'm seeing in respect to this move, and I'll be so fast. The first thing, Ruto Sacco is angling a takeover of the commercial interests in Nairobi. While this can be sugar-coated as a plan by the national government to take over the city, to increase capitation in terms of building infrastructure so that an annual budget is set up from the national government. I don't know whether it will be put as a ministry so that it gets an ministerial location. At this moment, I want to ask, if the management of the Nairobi County, of the Nairobi as a county, is disbanded, Nairobi is disbanded, and the factor Nairobi is factored in as a cabinet position or as a cabinet slot, is it going to get more capitation than now? Number 2, what is the difference? Is it about the person managing or capitation? If the challenge here is Nairobi is being underdeveloped as we speak now because of a lack of money, because of low financing, then why don't national government just increase the capitation of the county that the county government gets, or there will still, different ministries within Nairobi will still have something special. If in the Ministry of Water and there is a problem of water in Nairobi, then the best you can do is not to take over the county Nairobi, but that Ministry of Water is South Nairobi. If there is a bit of infrastructure and roads, the road network or something, then we have a national government and a cabinet secretary Murkomen to do something for Nairobi County. That way, the national government shall have helped. But on this one, it also looks at the military, commercial, not military, but commercial interest at play. Why? One of the silent fighting points why people want to take charge of Nairobi has never been for development. And I've always said, for the lead, it has never been for the development. It's for those commercial interests. Number 2, I see a probability. Nairobi is a hub, and you will see Western countries, when you listen to the speeches by the Meg Whiteman and commercial and foreign envoy, Western envoys, they've put Nairobi very strategic as the entry point to East Africa. Nairobi has been explained in different terms. The commercial hub, the ICT tech center, the entry point to East Africa, you know, the entry point to Africa, and everyone who is starting something in East Africa or in Africa is using Nairobi as a pilot because of its ever-growing population, the vibrancy. And the other day I listened to a US diplomat saying that Nairobi, they opted to pick their workers from Nairobi because Nairobi has the most skilled labor in Nairobi. It has the most educated people, the Nairobi County, which has the most educated people, and I think by extension Kenya. But then William Ruto has also realized that the Western powers are having a lot of interest in Nairobi County and its bit of cutting deals so that they can penetrate the county through William Ruto. Because what is the probability? You know, I've always spoken about this. I am seeing United Britain and the US, they have a lot of interest of putting up some beautiful structures in Nairobi, putting up, doing some development projects. Now, what is the essence, or what has always been happening that I've not seen them having closed-door meetings with Nairobi County? Of course, Nairobi County is a key player, but the meetings will be held at the national government level. You see here the meeting the president, meeting the deputy president, but there is less talk about the county government. And that is why I'm saying this suggestion is about Western powers penetrating the city. Number 3, Ruto is also trying to disrupt, or in another way, alter the voting electoral constituency in Nairobi. Nairobi County has many votes, and most of these votes are actually domiciled. No, they're staying in the slums, the Kibera, the Mathare, in those areas. So when the takeover is taken to some extent, they will be in a position to, of course, do something with those voting constituencies. It's something they might actually split, you know, they can split the constituency. Kibera can be split, and that split will produce some sector for the Luo, for tribe X and tribe Z. And it will also, William Ruto is also trying to look at how can I take charge of Nairobi? In terms of that voting constituency, what can I do? It's something angling for the voting constituency. Number 4, UDA is pushing an agenda to hit Sakaja. And of course, this agenda is supposed to put Sakaja on warpath with President Ruto. And at the end of it, the UDA ticket will not be given to him. It's one of the things that you can put on table. When Sakaja decides not, it's not going to do. In fact, let me say, one of the most places to be a county and to impress is a county like Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru, and Kisumu. Why? And Nairobi being number 1 in that list, because the challenge is not allocation of resources. The challenge is, you know, ever-growing population and ever-growing demand for the goods and services. Then Nairobi has a growing population that demands a lot. So even if you are putting, you cannot, the rate at which the population is growing and people trooping into the city, everyone graduating in this country every day, almost 60% of those graduates troop to Nairobi looking for those jobs that do not exist. People in the villages here completing their Form 4, even those who are not going for jobs, are trooping the city. So we need to look at it. Look at Nairobi, how many universities are there? All these graduates graduating within Nairobi are not leaving the city to go back to the counties to look for jobs. Everyone wants to get his way within Nairobi city. And that is why you have to look at it. I think, Mgala Mwe Hakimpe, let me tell you, in this country, Kenya, people may say a lot of things about Uhuru Kenyatta, but Uhuru Kenyatta did quite a tremendous job. When I was going home, I drove my way through bypass, then to Kikuyu. I'm telling you, Nywe. On road, you might give it to Uhuru Kenyatta, unless you just have something malicious. Uhuru did a very tremendous job in Nairobi. If it was under the NMS and it was done under the leadership of Uhuru Kenyatta for the last 10 years, Nairobi will have to thank Uhuru Kenyatta one day, even if they may not thank him when he's alive, but Nairobi will thank Uhuru Kenyatta, because Uhuru Kenyatta, the 4th president, did a tremendous job. Take it to bank. You can, unless you choose to be malicious. Thank you.